Welcome today to our webinar for APOLLON Upgrade version 2023. The time's running, so we call the new major update for APOLLON the version 2023, and we have fantastic functions created for all facade engineers and designers. But first of all, I would like to introduce ourselves briefly. My name is Henning Wagner, I'm your host today, and hopefully you already know that. And next to me is Philipp, who is responsible for the program presentation as always. Hello, Philipp.
Hello to all viewers, and I like to welcome you today also to our webinar, and I'm really looking forward to showing you an APOLLON construction scenario, and of course the APOLLON 2023 features are in the foreground in this presentation.
Okay, thanks Philipp. So let's start with a little agenda, and as always we start in Athena and then we bring the construction into APOLLON. The example we are showing you today is based on a really difficult corner construction, but if you are using APOLLON, everything is possible. The function of the free alignment is really nice in the upcoming scenario because the following construction has some different angles, but I don't want to give too much away for that. And the next one is, after that we come to the tagging. With tagging, APOLLON collect identical bars is very helpful in production to minimize the setup costs, and maybe you know this from Athena as well. Then we come to the detailed drawing. We split bars and now supported by the automatic creation of single part drawing. So it's really nice for you to use this as single parts. So yeah, how can software help to create nearly same parts in a facade structure? Here's the final solution. Be curious about it. Yeah, and at the end, Philipp will show you the power of APOLLON to generate sheet metal with also different angles. Maybe it will blow your mind what you see there. Yeah, and many more. So yeah, let's start the presentation. And I think, Philipp, let's go to the desk and then we start with APOLLON live presentation. Okay. So pick up your chair and then let's go.
Yes, before we start with what's new in APOLLON 2023, let's first look at the background of the construction I have chosen for the webinar. Using Athena 2D commands, I have created a vertical section of a building structure joint, as you may be used to. Here, for example, with the insulation command, with sheet metal command, with the membrane, with the labeling, you can see here I have insert a standard part, and in addition we see an access model that is sent to us by the architect, for example, and we worked with Athena auxiliary commands to create a functioning access model that has correct intersections. Let's start now with our new APOLLON 2023 version. Here you can see the construction just shown again. I imported the sketch from Athena into APOLLON. Of course, you can also create such 3D sketches directly in APOLLON. Both is possible, as it is most comfortable for you. In this design, we also encounter a geometric challenge. The fact is that the upper plane has different dihedral angles than the lower plane of the construction. How you can solve such a thing, I will show you later with also a new feature. Now let's move on to the first innovation. Let's change 5 glass fillings with the command modify objects. You can see that the filling variants have been extended. Now it is also possible to generate 3-fold insulating glass and panels with different properties. For example, you can easily change insulating glass to panels as I did. For example, an aluminium panel with a styrodur inlay. And now let's take a look to the result. So APOLLON are changing the insulating glass to the aluminium panels. And also, of course, the gaskets of the profiles are changing to the new thickness. So we hide the 3D sketch and I do APOLLON live section, and also the display of the fillings also changed. We take a closer look at the filling, and the fillings are now not just simple solids, but objects with a high level of detail. Here we can see the aluminium panel section with the special materials. And we do another live section, and let's take a look to a normal insulating glass filling here in this plane, and here we can also see the high level of detail here at this object. So, and of course, if you do a shop drawing, you have also the high level detail of the different filling sections. So let's change back the aluminium panel into a laminated safety glass. Yes, and with a few clicks you can change the values or the variant of the filling. And you know, it's a APOLLON basic function, modify objects to change any object in an APOLLON construction. Earlier I briefly mentioned that the upper dihedral angles do not quite match the lower dihedral angles. This can become a challenge. On the left side of the model we have an orthogonal situation, but on the right side of the model we have a much more difficult situation. So let's take a look to this two mullions. We can see that the mullions are both generated in the corresponding angle shaping. This is also correct. However, we need to adjust the offset we see here. I will show you now how you can solve this geometric problem. With the new command free alignment, you can change the relevant position of the bars. Of course, there are few ways you can determine the offset. For example, you could make a section through the structure and then measure and check how you would need to adjust accordingly. Due to time constraints, I have already determined the values and adjust the profiles with the parameters in the dialog. Here you can use either surface A or B as a guide and enter positive or negative values. Of course, such adjustments are only possible to a limited extent, and you should always check whether the design still works technically. This was just a good example I came across by tolerances during my preparations. You could also move profiles in X or Epsilon axis if it's necessary. It depends on the different cases. Let's complete the last value. So 4 degrees. And so let's look at the result here. So I think it's a good way to solve this geometric problem here with the mullions of the upper and the lower plane. We would now like to filter only the basic profiles in the view. If you don't know the visibility filter command yet, learn it now. With a few target clicks you can filter the desired objects in the view to get a better overview of the whole construction. On the lower side of the short mullions of the upper side you can see holes for LED lighting, for example. Let's take a little excursion on how to create processings in APOLLON. To do this, simply place a 2D sketch on the desired surface to be processed. So let's zoom to the profile. And now you can project lines and shapes and points of the profile onto the surface as I did. In this case, the holes should be orthogonal to the holes of the right profile. Okay, so let's insert lines here orthogonal to the right profile and to the point of the left profile. But you could also put points on the center line and add dimensions. This way you could slightly modify the spacing of the holes. There are many parametric options available to you to process bars, for example, with drilled holes. So now we finished the sketch. Okay. And now we can insert the drilled holes in this dialog box. Here I have prepared the values, and you can see the drilled holes are now inserted to the mullion. With APOLLON, you can create machining processings very intuitively and especially parametrically. It's a different way of working than you may be used to from Athena, for example. Here let's take a look to the high level detail drilled holes here on the profile. And APOLLON is very performant, you can see here. And next, I will show you another reason why we created the drilled holes. There is a change in the function single part drawings. We will create single part drawings once for these 4 mullions. In the dialog, we find the possibility to interrupt the bars between the processings. So we have everything important together on one document. Here we can convince ourselves of the results. So that takes a moment. So APOLLON creates now the different single part drawings of the 4 mullions. So let's do a little break. Okay. So maybe you just want to put some special complicated machined bars in your construction on the plan to check random samples in the production. Of course, let's activate also the other documents, and we can see how different the bars are cutting. Of course, we can save the drawings in CRONOS, our new PDM software. We then use our filter function again and show all components from the basic structure. Here a few clicks, only the main part, hide others, and we have back our basic structure again. We have determined that this construction is somewhat special. We let APOLLON check once if there are identical parts are to be found in the construction with our new function tagging. Here you can filter, for example, by profile. We want only the main parts. You can change the tagging naming, and you can filter by material or item number. For example, if you have steel and aluminium parts, for example, in your construction. In less than a second, APOLLON has checked the model and we can generate a part list. For this, we create a new drawing and place 3 views. Here with a bigger scale, and we place the first view and the other 2 views. Okay. Here we can check also the high detail of the facade views. So, for example, also with a shaded view. So I thought with my preparation that no profile is the same. Let's generate a part list. So this view, okay. And I thought with my preparation that no profile is the same. So let's take a look. So here we have in the position 2 and 3, 2 identical parts, 2 identical mullions. Here we have also transoms, 3 identical transoms, and yes, the tagging shortens the component list, which creates an organizational advantage, depending on how complicated or less complicated the geometric nature of the model is. The more or less identical parts can be found. The fact is that tagging is always worthwhile. So finally, we again fade in all the components of the model. Of course, with our visibility filter. This construction will be kept, of course. In the next webinars, we will also go more into the topics processing, edits, creating work plans, work with them, and so on. So let's take a few seconds and we do a small tour around our construction again. Before we move on to the next big innovation of our current version, let's build a new component from the scratch. So we open a standard part. Okay. And from CRONOS, I import a sketch that I once prepared for a trade show. So here the APOLLON folder and this drawing. You can see how quick you can find also the different components in CRONOS. Okay, so now we importing the sketch and place it here in the model space and change the view. So then we have a better overview. With the APOLLON part functions, you can then prepare a sketch like this for an APOLLON assembly. Analyze the intersections of the sketch, for example, to separate protrusions of lines. APOLLON then uses the intersection points to generate surfaces on which bars and fillings can later be placed. Afterwards, the weather side must be determined so that all profiles have the same side orientation. After that, we are done and we save the part in CRONOS to be able to place it in an APOLLON assembly later. Okay, close it again. And then we open a new assembly and place our access model to the model space. So we also open the CRONOS Explorer and then we have here our part with the 3D sketch and the surfaces. Okay, and here we also change the view a little bit. So that is our front view, okay. And we want to edit this 4 surfaces. And now I can present you our new function facade. And first, of course, we have to save the new element assembly here in our APOLLON folder. Now I can present you our new command facade. For this, we can use a bar definition of an element facade system. Now APOLLON generates a new assembly element. What is the advantage here? Normally, every time you want to create a new element assembly, you would have to place the sketch and assign bars and fillings. This command does that automatically. So let's change the visual style in a high quality and we can see here also the result. And we open the new element assembly and do the bar cuttings. Here all components in a metered cut. Okay, and we do also the 3 other edges, also with this function. Okay, so we return to our main assembly. Let's move on to another advantage that this function offers. If you have created an element, you can transfer this base element to other geometrical similar surfaces. This way, you do not have to create each element individually, but copy it from surface to surface. We repeat this step again with the 2 other fields. We will assign the profile system to a surface, open the assembly group and cutting the corners of the element. So now we have the new assembly, we open it and then we start to cutting the edges. You can see this saves a lot of time. So you have not to open a new assembly, import the sketch, generate new bars, add the filling. You can easy create new element assemblies in one main assembly, easy with one sketch. So we select the right sides of the element and we can press OK, and then APOLLON generate the new element assembly. And you can see also in the model browser we have the 3 new element assemblies, and you can see that the elements are numerically continued. So here we have our result. And it's also useful to use the positioning of APOLLON. You can open also an assembly directly from the model browser. This is also possible. Finally, let's take an excursion to the APOLLON sheet metal functions. So for this we have to open a new part. We open the CRONOS Explorer and here we have a sheet metal example. Okay, now a double click. Okay, so what if, as a simple example, you had to cut or intersect a windowsill with 2 different cross sections like here? With APOLLON, this is done with a few clicks. With a contour flange, you can simply place a sheet metal cross section over a sketch cross section like here. In this example, our colleague has already stored parameters that we can use to create the different sheets. For the intersection of the edges, we use the corner seam later. So here we have the right side of the windowsill, and we have determined the right side of the sheet metal cross section. Okay. Now for the intersection of the different edges, we use the corner seam function and select our edges to be intersected in a relaxed manner. Simply work through click by click, and you will see how quickly and accurately APOLLON performs the intersections here. So now this edge, okay, apply, and then the 2 other edges, of course, also. So, and we move here the model a little bit, and then we have also the edges on the bottom here. Okay, so now it's done. After this, we want to change a parameter here in the part, the angle of the windowsill. We change it to 100 degrees, and you see that the cutting is adapted to the new angle. Also, this is possible if it's necessary. And we do another processing here on the left side. We add a 2D sketch to the surface, and we design a rectangle. So here 80 millimeters and 50 millimeters. So, and APOLLON creates also dimensions, and you can use this dimension also to change the parameters of the notch later if it's necessary. And then we punch the notch through the windowsill. So, okay, so you can see how easy to create sheet metal processings here in APOLLON. So it's very easy and very intuitively. Now we want to create sheet metal processing, and then we have to save the 2 parts in a separate assembly. So I rename the component names, and I select here a template. And now we have a separate APOLLON assembly. Okay, and now we open the part. With a double click, and then we have the possibility to create a sheet metal processing. You can see also with the notch we have created. Okay, then we have reached the end of our webinar, and now we come to the closing words.
Yeah, thanks Philipp for this nice presentation. Okay. What else can you expect with APOLLON 2023? We have summarized on our website. Please scan this code, and if you want to get in touch with us, you can also write an email at webinar@cad-plan.com. So we have prepared something for you, the QR codes you can scan, and if you want to have more information about the new features in APOLLON 2023, scan the code on my side, on the website side here from this. And if you want to have a 30-day free trial version, then you can scan the code on the site of Philipp. Yeah. Thank you very much, and I hope it all works for you on the webinar. And as always, Philipp has the last words.
Yes, thank you very much too, and for coming virtually in such large numbers. And I'm looking forward to the next times of our webinars, of course. And if you have questions or you need more information, you can write me also on LinkedIn or on webinar@cad-plan.com.
Okay. See you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Bye-bye.